Hey there, card folk. Speedrobo here, and today I'm with Keith as we discuss today's draft duel. How you doing, pal?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be commentating at last.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And up on the blue player, we've got Moonfassa, and down on red, we've got Patrick. These are two veterans of our tournaments and this series. I'm excited to see them square off, especially with the recent buff Crag Behemoth got. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that as well, especially since longtime fans of the game will know that my sole contribution to this game is calling Crag Behemoth Craig.
That is not a good summary of your contributions, but I like that. Thank you for calling that, Craig. That was very good.
And let's see, hero-wise, Patrick's bringing his signature hero Kaar'thul. Looks like he's going for a support build with Battle Fury. And Moonfassa's bringing, in many ways, his signature hero as well, Anwyn, also going for a support build. Why do you think we're seeing such a rise in the support caster being meta?
That is tough for me to answer. I guess I'll just defer to my standard lazy answer in that regard, that our player pool is not large enough to know if we're simply seeing a shift in people's individual preferences, or these are actually the strongest cards. Now, I do think the case could always be made that Anwyn is probably the strongest hero, just because she gives you so many options, and a highly skilled player definitely has a lot of room to outplay their opponent. But again, until we have a larger player base, which hopefully will happen very shortly as the game is about ready to be released in physical form, it's hard to be certain.
Yeah. My actual tinfoil hat theory is that a lot of players want to play their heroes kind of as a support role because it keeps them safer, and in general, you just have that like gut feeling of wanting to protect your hero and not have them take damage. So that's like my super basic thoughts on it as well.
Well, and that is certainly a comment I've made about other games like Magic the Gathering. Control players, they do tend to gravitate towards something more defensive, because then it gives the opportunity for their opponent to mess up more, which a better player is going to capitalize on.
Yep.
I did try to design this game though so that aggression is slightly better, and so for me, I don't feel comfortable playing defensive heroes. I want to be playing Argog. I want to be playing like a more offensive Aurelia type build. So I know the Moonfassa, he's a better player than me. Maybe he would attribute to the same thing. But I think over the long term, we're going to see more. I think we're going to see a good balance, honestly, in the long term between both offensive and defensive style hero builds.
And to be fair, a new build known as Speedy Argog has been making the rounds in tournament play and casual play recently, and has been putting up some serious results. So it's hard to say, definitely unconclusive. But one thing I do want to point out is that both of these players, they're drafting quick. They know exactly what they want, which I always love to see. And we've got the Bears down. But to counter that, here comes Craig. He can't be moved by them, and I don't know. He can also just one-shot these guys. Except for Ursa Major, it's got 7 HP, but he can one-shot the Minor.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I would expect. If the Ursas are going to be there, then the Crag Behemoth should be there. So I think if there's any opportunity for Craig, as you aptly named it, to shine, then it should be this. I'm really excited to see just how well it performs, because if push comes to shove, Patrick can fall back on this game plan of just putting Craig in the middle on the central hex, and the Bears can no longer just roar it off. They have to deal with it.
Ooh,
So
another really interesting thing is that Tethier Fletcher's hook shot can't pull him either.
right.
And Satyr can't taunt him.
Right. Yep. Scork Sorcerer also can't, enrage him. Yeah, Craig is definitely shored up in terms of his ability there. He was very, I want to say, did not feel like a 15 gold unit. He looked like it on paper if you just looked at his stats, but when a unit of that size could be moved around so easily, it's too large of a counter for something that's that high of a gold investment. Whereas you have units like Black Dragon, where Black Dragon's more designed as this, doesn't really have a hard counter. I mean, you could argue that maybe the only hard counter to a Black Dragon is just exhausting it, because, or then 16 gold of your board is now locked down. That's really the only counter. Beyond that, I mean, Black Dragon was just so well rounded, and then Craig had this very overt weakness. So now I think they're a little bit more on par with one another.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And we're seeing a lot of Deepwood Sentinels for that extra mobility come in. This could be used as a way to sort of get around the Steadfast on Craig here. Because he can't charge, but if you scoot your pieces next to him through a Deepwood Sentinel chain, then you can deal that damage.
Yeah, you can get in that backstab damage, but here's what I'm going to be interested to see, is whether Moonfassa goes the route of, let's try to deal with everything else except Craig, and then deal with Craig last, or just try to directly kill Craig from the start. I think Moonfassa is going to have to commit very purposely in one direction or the other. I don't think he's going to be able to do both. Would you agree?
I completely agree with that. And I think a gigantic misplay just happened. Patrick's the attacker.
Point it out to me.
And this taunting satyr is dead to this archer. I don't know what the plan is with that. That taunting satyr.
I mean, is there what is that behind? Is that a hunter or a great hunter?
That is a
so the great hunter,
but it doesn't
will be able
matter.
to kill it. But yeah, that's kind of. I would say that's definitely a trade in Patrick's favor.
Yeah, because Archer moves up to this hex, takes out Taunting Satyr. Then Norfane Great Hunter captures on that hex. Wargrider captures.
So that kind of play, though, is going to boil down to actions. We'll see how many more actions Moonfassa has than
for sure.
Patrick. We might see this boil down a little bit to the action economy aspect. But I agree. Yeah, in a vacuum, there's definitely looks like it's in Patrick's favor, and we'll see if he actually does that. You think he would do that turn one, round one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I'm in Patrick's shoes, my first play always is Goblin Archer here, take out Taunting Satyr, because the way I think about it is that even if I lose my Archer in this situation and I can't get anything else back, that is a 3 gold for 2 gold trade, and it takes out one of the most annoying pieces on the board. Worth it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it also means that, like, something like this Hippogriff Archer or this Norfane Great Hunter are taking out a Goblin Archer instead of doing something that's actually a problem for me. So worth it. So worth it every time. Oh, and I steal Taunting Satyr's action, too? Like, my opponent just goes -1 action? Heck yeah!
What's the gold count at? Do we know?
Gold count is at 69 for Moonfassa and 72 for Patrick.
I see. Yeah, I see that now. Okay, so getting pretty close. I don't think it's going to be a full board. for either player?
Probably not. Right now, I think these two players are trying to figure out how to get as close to that as possible without taking completely worthless units, you know? And I think the Norfain Sorcerer is a pretty good draft here in general. Patrick's not known for taking healers on his side of the board, so the debuffs are gonna stick.
Mm-hmm. He could still drop in that Troll Doctor, but yeah, I don't know if it'll be necessary. There's one Norfang Sorcerer.
So I would drop in the Troll Doctor because otherwise the Norfain Sorcerer is just gonna mess with Craig all game and ugh.
I mean, I will say about the Norfang Sorcerer, it only has 3 mana.
Yeah, it only has 3 mana, and I think something to point out is that its nastiest debuffs are only at 3 range, which means things like the Dragon Hatchling can easily take it out.
It's funny you say the nastiest debuffs are only at 3 range. That'd be Break and Root, whereas we have some other players in the server who swear that Silence is the nastiest debuff.
Silence is good, but what I'm saying is the nastiest debuffs for this current build. Like, legitimately, what could this thing silence on Patrick's board that would matter? Slingshot?
Well, I mean, that raises the question of how much he puts on Kaar'thul. Obviously, he's going to put Battle Fury on. I don't know Patrick's playstyle well enough to say at this point whether he's going to bring in a Lightning Bolt. But if he also brought in the Lightning Bolt, I could see a Silence being decent.
Sure. With Battle Fury and Spellshock, though, I mean, here's the way I think about it. Even if Kaar'thul gets silenced, I'm just going to tuck him away in the corner and have him be a Spellshock engine for the rest of the round, if not game. Like, cool. I'm playing against Sylvan. Spellshock's going to mess them up pretty bad. Tuck that guy in a corner and watch them cry.
So my only counterpoint to that, I generally agree with you, I'll just throw out this counterpoint, is that the Battle Fury providing +1 action might end up being pretty relevant.
That's true.
Especially as we were talking about, depending on what order of events with the Taunting Satyr, the Goblin Archer, all that, you know, 1 extra action on Patrick's part might stop that, you know, some of those backstab units from being highly effective.
Yeah, that is fair. But you could also just kill those backstab units before they become a problem, and that's the Gath way. If my opponent's cards are dead, they can't hurt me.
I mean, I will generally go with your opinion on something because you've seen these players play a lot more. I tend to think of the game more at a philosophical level. I don't know as much as you do even about individual plays, trades, things like that. It's probably why I'm not very good at the game.
Man, I love thinking about stuff on individual trades and plays level. I love studying the meta of this game and watching it evolve as even our small player base just learns more and becomes better. And this has been a really good journey. Another Taunting Satyr? Whoa, wait a minute, pal. Are you sure about that, Moonfassa?
That's interesting. I wonder if he's even forgetting that you can't taunt Craig. Probably not, but
I think he knows. I mean, it's Moonfassa. He's one of the best.
Yeah, but I mean, the best taunt target by far is the Warg Rider, in my opinion. Maybe it could be the Dragon Hatchling if the Dragon Hatchling is close enough.
Yeah, this is a really good lineup for both players here. We're moving into the battle phase. I like it a lot.
So he did take the Lightning Bolt. I think he just took the Lightning Bolt as I had 1 more gold.
Yeah.
I can keep using this if I run out of mana.
Yep. I'd say so.
So yeah, I'm thinking we probably won't see the Silence come out, but maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, first thing up, yep, there it is. Goblin Archer, take on that Taunting Satyr. Absolutely. No doubt in my
Yep,
mind
you
that
were
was
right.
going to happen.
You were right about that. The question is how bad was that really for Moonfassa?
Well, let's think about it, right? Patrick right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 actions. And Moonfassa has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 actions. So right now, Patrick is kind of winning on the action economy, going ahead with just a skip on the Taunting Satyr, and we're silencing Anwyn. There's no healer on the enemy side. Oh my goodness.
I just realized that. You always assume Sylvan has another healer, so you don't really think about it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That Anwyn can attack at one range. That's Anwyn's value now this round.
This is, I'm not even kidding, man. That's massive. Wow, that Anwyn's just done for the round.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit perplexed. I shouldn't be though. Again, these players are so much better than me. But I was expecting more debuff removal against Vesuvian Warlock, which is considered, I think, probably the best debuffer in the game.
Well, here's one thing I will say. There's a reason why
pound.
Patrick drafted Vesuvian Warlock last.
Okay, and that's a good call. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that was literally the last card Patrick drafted aside from his Lightning Bolt. And he straight up waited until Moonfassa had put everything on the board and then was like, haha, surprise, I have the best debuffer in the game.
So basically what we've seen thus far with the Goblin Archer and the Taunting Satyr, that might have been just a straight up blunder on Moonfassa's part, but what Patrick did here, that might have just been a straight up outplay.
I think so, yeah. I think that's a really good way to look at it. The Taunting Satyr, I think, was a blunder. Vesuvian Warlock in draft, that was just pure skill from Patrick, honestly. We're gonna power up the Warg Rider so that it can kill the Hippogriff. Oh, that is cool.
That's... Yeah, I mean, you can move it, so...
He can move it, but then
the Warg Rider...
It steals the Hippogriff, actually.
He does have a zone of control now, Patrick does, which I think is a super clever kind of strategic framework, if you want, within this game, is to just like pick a side of the map that you kind of want to create blockers in or create a zone of control in, and then actually focus your firepower on the other side of the map. He's kind of done that already. It's like whatever moves into that entire zone over there on the left side, it's just gonna get hurt very badly. That limits a lot what Moonfassa can now do.
At this point, I think Patrick's best move is probably just Battle Fury the Hellion. Get that squared away and set up another zone of control.
You're right. Patrick's kingdom is good at this, and you've seen him play more than I have, so this is probably all obvious to you. But another thing I do want to point out is that, you know, that last pick, Vesuvian Warlock, that might have seemed really, really clever to us. I mean, Patrick has played this kingdom so much that's probably just second nature to him at this point. He's practiced this. He knows what to do. He knows what to expect.
You know, with some of our other top players like Empire can play anything and do well with it. Patrick has chosen to specialize in Kaar'thul, Goblin Slingshot, in this specific kingdom, and it really shows. It shows so thoroughly with how good he is at this. Like, there's no doubt in my mind Patrick is the Gath main in the community.
He is, and also one other player is Rat, who plays the speedy Argog. He's of focused entirely on Argog, whereas Patrick is focused on Kaar'thul. But regardless of what hero somebody decides to main, as they would say in MOBAs, it's always flattering as a designer to see that, because that's a clear indication that players are getting a tremendous amount of pleasure out of just mastering something they really enjoy or find intriguing or fascinating.
Well said. Looks like Moonfassa's taking a very defensive strategy, just sort of exhausting his backline, waiting for Patrick to move in. And Patrick's handling this really well. You can see this with the grunts, where he's pushing them up a little bit each time to gain ground and gain territory without sacrificing or risking more than he has to. This is just really good Legacy's Allure that's happening right now. Trench Digger
so glad
going in and getting the buff. He's going to have Steadfast and Evasion.
Yeah, I'm so glad he's using Trench Digger. I think that's just such a fun card, and I'm excited to see it played. Honestly, this kind of defensive setup. He has Crag Behemoth, he has Trench Digger Goblin, he has Goblin Slingshot, he has Kaar'thul. It's just a really cool combination of units to have a very defensive, strong hold in the middle, and it'll be very interesting to see how Moonfassa tries to break through that. And I'm going to predict that if he does, the Hippogriff Archer might actually end up being the MVP, because that's really the only unit. That's the only unit I would say that Moonfassa has that kind of pretty solidly deals with multiple threats on Patrick's board. Even in the sense that if it does die to, say, the Crag Behemoth, you're still getting some counter-strike damage in there, which against something as large as the Crag Behemoth, like every point of damage counts. You're not going to be able to just blow it up in one hit, so you got to be doing, a point here, a point there, 3 points there. That's great.
Yeah, I firmly agree with everything you said. Hippogriff Archer taking out that Goblin Archer. Once again, like I said, if I was playing this Gath list right now, I would be so comfortable with that trade. Like, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, the Hippogriff Archer is now exhausted, and Kaar'thul doesn't have any protection. There's no buckler even. Also, the Goblin Slingshot is only 3 health. So I think it's worth noting that the Dragon Hatchlings, which they'll probably move up, so they might be able to die to the Hippogriff Archer next round. But these key units in Patrick's army, Kaar'thul and the Goblin Slingshot, they can both die to a charging Hippogriff Archer if it charges in melee form.
Yeah.
But because of what just happened, the Hippogriff Archer is still way in the back. So we're thinking like at least 2 rounds ahead before that would even be possible. So I think Patrick's in a really strong position because nothing is threatening his key pieces.
I agree.
I'm going to ask you this. I'm speaking generally, when should a player act with Crag Behemoth? Is that a unit that should be used sooner rather than later? Is it most powerful when used at the end of the round? What's your opinion on acting with Craig?
So I think that Craig is a unit of extremes. You either want him to be your first action and just have him walk into center and politely ask your opponent to deal with it, or you use him as your last action, similar to Black Dragon, and set up something really nasty fork-wise with it. Because Crag Behemoth works really well as a defender. Nothing can really get up in Patrick's line over here, or capture any of Patrick's pieces around Craig right now, without Moonfassa just losing that piece. Whatever card he used to try and push forward is going to get hurt by Craig. And I think that that's what Patrick is doing currently with with Crag Behemoth. So I would say either your first action or your last. No middle ground.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, if not the very last, then close to last once you have a clear idea of a fork you can set up or how you're going to defend something. Now I will say, if you set up a nice fork at the end of the first round with a Crag Behemoth, they must be doing something very aggressive because Crag can only move 2.
Well,
so
you don't even actually have to be that aggressive to accidentally get forked by Craig, because even if you're just going so much as taking center, or even just moving forward a little bit to threaten center, Craig Behemoth goes 1, 2, and now all of a sudden he's threatening any of those spaces.
Yep, fair enough. My preference is to use Crag Behemoth in like purely a defensive role where I actually fork my own units, so it's like, okay, I'm now adjacent to 2 units that I know you want to kill. Whatever you kill with them is going to die to Craig. So it's like, it's a similar situation. Pick what unit of yours you want to die, and there's very few things that can withstand a blow from Craig, which is a nice thing. It's just that kind of guaranteed. It's almost like a removal spell in a sense.
Yeah. My favorite way to use him is to throw him straight into the enemy front line. He takes a bunch of damage but deals a bunch of damage back, and then I bloodthirst him with Troll Shaman so that he can't take damage, has charging but dies at the end of the round, and then he goes choo choo and punches something to death.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty min-max or pretty high risk, high reward. I've not used Craig like that, but yeah, if you can say take out a, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 gold unit with Craig, and then maybe say take out another 10 or 12 gold unit with that whole combo, I definitely say it's worth it. But me, I am not, even though I like playing aggressive, that type of play is you can fumble pretty easily.
Oh,
and then
sure, but that's what makes it fun.
Troll Shaman. Yeah, Troll Shaman is a very high risk, high reward card, one that I'm not very good with. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, using Wargrider's own ally pathing against it to push it back and make the Dragon Hatchling exposed. Pretty decent.
Yep.
There he goes! There's the boy!
Yeah, but again, that there's some hexes that are now blocked off, I guess you could say. You could say that D5 and E5 are kind of blocked off with a zone of control by Craig, those 2 empty hexes adjacent to him. But yeah, the bear can't die in 1 hit right now, has no damage on it, so.
Ooh, I saw something interesting though. Goblin Slingshot could move D2.
Yeah, it could.
Launch.
Yep.
I mean, heck, even Kaar'thul.
Yeah, I figured it'd be the Skorg.
I mean, you could do the Skorg, but you could also launch your hero to deal 1 damage, and then Ursa Major dies to Craig.
Well, what's interesting about this is if the Ursa Major doesn't get healed, then Patrick even has the option of just killing it with Lowly Grunt.
Yeah.
So Patrick just has more options now, which you always want more options as a player. Of course, I know the Moonfassa is not just going to let it sit there.
This is spicy. There are so many things under threat on Moonfassa's side. There's Ursa Major. Dragon Hatchling can swoop in and take out Sorcerer.
Yeah, I like that.
Taunting Satyr, and then Wargrider is threatening Hunter and Wisp and Sentinel.
I think it is tempting to use that Wargrider to take out the Great Hunter, but the Great Hunter isn't threatening anything right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my opinion is you move the Dragon Hatchling, kill the Norfang Sorcerer. That also means that if the Great Hunter still chooses to kill it, it's already killed an exhausted unit, a unit that's been used.
Correct. This is... Whoa. There's a lot. Is this a Tranquility coming down?
Yeah.
Yep, looks like it.
I mean, that's the only option, because even if you just move the Ursa Major, I mean, the Dragon Hatchlings can kill it, and if you heal the Ursa Major, Crag Behemoth can still kill it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say that is the type. Yes, Anwyn is a defensive hero, and Anwyn's gonna make defensive plays, but that is not the kind of defensive play.
I gotta cut you off here real quick to make a quick note. The reason why 2 spell shock damage was dealt is because 2 different mana abilities was activated. Anwyn's passive and Tranquility itself.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Just wanted to make that note. And you called it exactly. Dragon Hatchling coming in to take out that Sorcerer. We've got some... This game has been really fun for me to watch. I've been loving... I love watching Gath. It's my favorite faction to just watch go.
It is worth noting that Spellshock counters Anwyn harder than pretty much any other unit in the game.
Yep.
Right. Since, Anwyn's passive requires you to use mana, and Spellshock activates every single time a mana-based ability is used. It's just, you're kind of shutting down her most powerful ability.
Oof, yep. That's right. I don't know what Moonfassa is gonna do now. I mean, just looking at these 2 clocks, you can see just how much experience Patrick has piloting his kingdom here. Without a doubt, a master of it.
Here's something I'm gonna throw out. I know that Moonfassa made a blunder there in the beginning, and Patrick is also playing well. I'm thinking the Grove Keeper Druid was a pretty big mistake. I don't see what that adds to the draft for 9 gold, especially just against an army with a lot of charging that can kind of, or pseudo charging with Dragon Hatchling that can just kind of maneuver around it. That Treant is doing absolutely nothing.
Well, not only is the Treant not doing anything, Grovekeeper's big bonus of having a teleport on hand isn't doing a whole lot when Patrick's entire army is in your face anyway.
Right, I mean, what's the biggest play that he can do with Grovekeeper? You could teleport or use Safe Haven, which is a teleportation ability on Grovekeeper. So he could teleport Hippogriff Archer in front of or near the Treant and then kill the Slingshot?
Yeah, that's about it.
I guess, is that it?
But I mean, even then he could just do it by simply activating one of his Sentinels to swap spots.
Oh yeah, that's true, so that's...
doesn't really do anything. And now Gath just starts dismantling all of the elves.
We have to be careful though, getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we have to keep in mind that Patrick's army is very self-sacrificial, so
yes.
he loses a lot of pieces very quickly himself.
Mm-hmm. This is by no means over. This can absolutely turn on a dime if Patrick's not very, very careful in what he does or does not take.
And that Hippogriff sitting there in the back,
yeah,
people really underestimate Counter-Strike when it gets down to the grindy, more attrition-based later rounds. They look out and they say, oh, I have more units. They don't realize that a Hippogriff or a Hippogriff Archer can mean that you're doing a 2-for-1 trade to take out these units.
It can become a problem quickly.
Yeah, I figured he'll use the Roar at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just get the Hatchling out of potential activation range. I'm seeing kind of Warlock use Searing Chains on this Ursa Minor here.
Could even use it on, no, I don't know if it's that high impact. You could use it on the taunting satyr just to prevent it from doing anything this round, and then it would die at the start of the next round from the burn.
Yeah, it's not bad, actually. It's not too bad.
I don't think he will. I just kind of wanted to note that that is possible. Sometimes players will use Searing Chains effectively as a removal spell, since that just 1 point of damage next round can kill something.
Yeah, which also can be extremely useful.
I mean, for example, think about this. This would probably be very wasteful, but you could Searing Chains the Ursa Major so that next round it's only going to have 1 health.
Oh.
And then you have the option of killing it even with the Goblin Archer.
Yes. This is interesting. This is an interesting teleport.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a fork set up there.
Hippogriff just went from 0 to hero here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't need to use the Hippogriff Archer with Safe Haven.
That's a lot of potential kills there.
But not Kaar'thul, which is the main thing. He does.
Oh, and here we go.
Keep Kaar'thul alive.
Burn and Root.
So I think that's where the Nature's Bosom is going to come out. That's why he was keeping Anwyn active, which is going to mean that the Ursa Major is going to go into the next round at 2 health again.
Ugh.
And can very easily die to so many things.
That's right.
So whatever Moonfassa does, I think in the next few turns, however he finishes off this round is going to be very much key into
hear me out on this.
Relevant moving forward.
Interesting play would have been Goblin Slingshot to launch the hatchling into the Hippogriff, and then just Goblin Slingshot retreats to E1. And then the Hippogriff basically would have had nothing to do.
Wait, could it move to E1?
Yeah.
Was it in E2?
No, yeah, never mind. You're right. I'm wrong on that. Oh, Kaar'thul Battle Furies himself?
That's not bad at all, because it's not like Moonfassa has any Glade Hawks or anything that deal just 1 damage from across the board. So having Kaar'thul at just 1 health isn't really like there's just no difference really, whether it's at 3 health or 1 health.
And then that's a dead Hippogriff.
Yep, that is.
I honestly, losing the slingshot for the Hippogriff, not too bad. I'm okay with that trade. If I was Patrick, I would say, well, not the best, but not the worst either.
Against those Counter-Strike units, especially with an army like Gath, it's pretty heavily reliant on melee. If you can be only trading 1 unit to take out a Hippogriff or a Hippogriff Archer, I think that's pretty good.
I agree.
Another thing I want to note about Crag Behemoth is it is a strong counter to Treants as well, because Treants are just 6 health. So even if... Oh, he surrenders.
Oh my goodness, that is a surrender from Moonfassa. Wow, I mean, fair enough. Moonfassa, I will say, at this point, some viewers might think the surrender's premature, but I completely understand it, because both of these bears are horrendously forked, even by this 1 grunt and this Warg Archer. Like, they're going down. Hippogriff is toast this round. Treant is doing nothing. Grovekeeper Druid is just dealing spell shock damage. Crag Behemoth only has to do is march into F5, and that's like,
Yeah, that's a huge fork.
Ka-chow. And
It is
Trench
really
Digger Goblin's
bad
just sitting
because,
in the middle
the,
going,
the Ursa Major can't escape. I mean, the Ursa Major is going to get run down by the Warg Rider or something,
Yeah.
or get picked off by a hatchling. And yeah, even if Moonfassa kind of clawed his way back into a good spot at the end of this round, I still, raises the question: what is he actually going to do in the late game against this Trench Digger Goblin and the Crag Behemoth? And I don't know.
He had nothing for it. That was amazingly well played by Patrick. Just wow.
It was. That's an indication of the strength, which, we all see it in MOBAs, people who main a hero get really, really good, but just so cool seeing it in this game, because Moonfassa's a really good player. I mean, he's considered one of the top 3 best players in the server, I'd say.
Doubt.
And to see a player just so skillful at their list that he almost made it look easy, dare I say.
I agree. I completely agree. And on that note, I want to thank all of you for joining us for this week. Keith, thank you for joining me in the commentary as well. Come into the server, check out the game, talk strategy with the players you saw here today. Any of us would be happy to show you the ropes. I've been Speedrobo, and you've been Keith.
I have been.
And we'll see you next time.